Good morning and welcome to Essence on this Father's Day, the 17th of June. Dads, it's your day, so do make the best of it. The focus on Essence this morning is on men, except you won't see any men on the floor today, aside from me, that is. Instead, I'll be talking to a range of women and asking them how they view the South African male. Who, after all, is the best qualified to talk about men than women? Later in the program, I'll be chatting to artist Nirupa Singh, who's been invited to exhibit her work in Great Britain. And because it's Father's Day, we're giving away the chance to win some distinctly male prizes: elegant winter knitwear from Porrocks of Pine Street in Durban, and 2 Gents Citizens quartz watches valued at 500 rands each from Pyramid Jewelers. But to start, let me introduce you to my studio guests. We have Penina Fenster, who's a columnist on the Sunday Times. You've probably read her column, Fenster on the World. Tiny Mesela, who's a project manager. And then Farida Mir, who is a research scientist. Tracy So, who's a public relations assistant for Sun International. And Ursula Johnson, who is also a public relations. Ladies, thanks for your time. Welcome to the show. I'm going to throw an open question here, and that is, what is your view of the ideal man? Ursula, can I start with you?
Sure.
What is your view of the perfect man?
First of all, I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect anything. There's no perfect male, no perfect female. But if I had to really find the perfect man, he'd have to be very intelligent, because I like heads. I like somebody's head. Maybe to socialize with, I need the hunk of the month. But I think somebody to be with me every day of my life, I need a good head. And somebody who's very secure and basically very down to earth. That is my perfect man.
Thanks, Ursula. Tracy, your perfect man?
Well, I think the perfect man should be ultra-romantic, caring, sensitive to a woman's needs, and he should also understand how a woman thinks, especially since we tend to be irrational sometimes.
Irrational. Frida, your perfect man?
I think I have very high ideals. My perfect man should have a body like Richard Gere, perhaps. Robert Redford's charm, Lee Iacocca's business acumen, and Pat Boone's commitment to family, as well as perhaps Tony Danza's domestication as portrayed in Who's the Boss. And socially, to have the great Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of brotherhood and peace.
So you've got it all worked out. Tiny, what is your man?
Mine should be very broad in his outlook. He should be very assertive as well. He should realize that I'm first myself before I'm his partner or friend or lover or whatever, or associate. And he should take into considerations my own personal needs, as well as he should realize that I also can have certain choices that might not necessarily be his. As a result of he should really take into considerations my expectations as a person.
Right.
And then, of course, he should know basically that I've got my own personal rights.
Okay. Penina?
Well, considering that no single person can be ideal, I think the solution might be a collection. Would one call that a macho of men?
I don't know. So what about this collection? Tell us.
Well, unfortunately, it's illegal.
Illegal?
Strictly. No, actually, I think the trick is to have a relationship with a human being, not an ideal.
Okay, well, I've heard all the viewpoints, and some of you will accept the flaws, etc. But, well, just to tell you what I think in the other way, okay, I like women who are very funny. Nobody's mentioned humor. Yeah. What about sense of humor?
Oh, absolutely. He's got to have a great sense of humor. I think that's why I said he's got to be very down to earth. Because I think people who are down to earth have got great sense of humor. I don't like arrogant men. In fact, when a guy walks through the door and he's arrogant, instantly puts me off. He could look like Robert Redford.
But
and when he's broad as well, at least he'll be able to pick up certain elements of humor in what a person is saying. His intelligence will prick him to have humor,
right,
and pick up whether humor is factual or it is really meant to be a joke or humorous.
Yeah.
So I think in his broad outlook in life, he will be humorous. So that's another element that's important.
Ursula, you mentioned arrogance. I know some women who actually like arrogant men.
I don't know. maybe he wouldn't come across as arrogant when he first meets her. But you have those guys who walk through the door and all they're saying they don't have to say a word, but they're saying to everybody, look at me, I am lovely, I am pretty, love me. You know, and that's the kind of guy that I think puts any woman off. Instantly.
Ashla, because non-verbals actually say 58% of what a person would like to say. And arrogance is a sign of aggression. It's one element of aggression.
Okay, Tracy and Farida
being vocal about it. Your non-verbals can actually say certain things that you, even if you don't say it by mouth, you are saying.
I better watch out, I'm not getting a chance here. Tracy and Farida sitting very quietly here listening.
I think that men often try and impress women without actually knowing what does impress women.
Okay,
they think
what impresses you?
Well, very often men try to act overconfident and very macho and very aggressive, whereas a lot of women just want the men to take it in their stride and just get to know them before they you know, make an expression.
Okay,
Well, I think this stems basically from upbringing. You know, a male child is brought up differently from a female. And, you know, boys are, how should I put that? You know, boys are taught to be assertive, masterful, and girls are taught to be sweet and coy and so on. So this then carries over into adulthood.
Right.
And so they are assertive and, as you said, arrogant.
I doubt if it's assertion. I think it's being non-assertive, because if you are brought up to ride all over people, you might get away with a lot of things which you shouldn't be getting away with. And the person who is receptive towards that is actually non-assertive. So it's actually aggression disguised. If you want to dominate everybody, overlooking their rights, because each and every individual has got rights, certain rights. If you make your rights overlook other people's rights, then you're not assertive. If you're assertive, then you recognize that your rights are equally important as other people's rights.
Let's take the local situation in South Africa. I might be wrong, but South African men tend to have this image of, you know, the macho rugger-bugger type, if you know what I mean. Do you think that's changing at all? Penina, do you think so?
Undoubtedly.
What is changing in that? More women in the workplace?
I think men are becoming more liberated. Liberated from what? I have no idea. Look, I must say that I'm very fond of the opposite sex. It's the only opposite sex we've got, ladies, so we might as well
love them.
enjoy them.
I love them.
Okay, so you think that is changing as well?
I think men are less afraid to be domesticated. The times and trends are definitely changing, and it's not, you know, it's